John asked me to step in and do this for you, so and I always like to do that. And more so, there are some things that, in addition to the actual topic that he wanted me to talk to you about, I have some updates for you about the whole ITT thing. So if you think of any questions, just please ask me because I may forget some things. Let me turn this off. So what I'm showing you right now, that is the newest thing that just came from Eric's office. Move over here so everybody can see. So the two newest developments in ITT situation is, we all know that we would like to have ITT students come to us if we can transfer credits. We do as much as we can. We were asked to be generous, but yet fair, to make sure that only the credits that fit will transfer and all that stuff. We all know that. But two new developments that came out just last night is one of these, where Eric outlined exactly programs that ITT has and how would they align with what program in our schools. And I will include this with in my email after we get done, so you can review this. I need to scroll. There's a little bit more information on the bottom. So there are some additional requirements, okay? In addition to this one, and I didn't include it in this particular tab, we also have, thank you. We also will have scholarships available for ITT students. So it is going to be up to $1 million, but this is for all of our system, right? So I just want to make sure this is for entire CEHE. But we set aside $1 million, which kind of will look about $4,000 per student. So there are some things that our CFA, thank you, Glenn. Our CFA needs to work on when we are enrolling these students, and many of you, especially associate deans, and Paul, you may be probably doing quite a lot of transfer credits evaluations. Just kind of be aware that will be coming probably, hopefully more often than not. Yes, sir.
So what information has been conveyed to ITT at this time from CE?
From CE. So I was told that today the scholarship news will be distributed via media, and I was trying to also post press release in Iowa Statesman, but I have not had a chance to finish it. I had to come here, but when I get done here, I'm going to work on that to post it as well. Also, I think a couple days ago there was another press release that was, according to marketing department, was sent out to all the media saying that we are ready to help ITT students if they choose to come to us. However, I am happy with anything. Okay. If you want to set up booth, I'm happy. So, and if not, if you just have people available.
All right, I volunteer.
She was volunteering.
Very good. I can feel that decision all the way.
I'm here for you.
So the other thing is, so if you think of anything regarding RTT, just stop me. The topic that John wanted me to cover today, he asked me to talk or have a discussion about how to motivate difficult students. And then I started thinking about it, what is the definition of difficult student? And difficult student is not the same thing as a disengaged or not engaged student. So I kind of think that he meant something different than what he asked me to do. So I kind of put together some information that I hope that will guide us on discussing mainly the goal of this particular, are you allergic to me? Hopefully some of the slides here will guide us to have discussion on how we can help our students to complete and retain them. I don't have very specific, but I know about a couple of years ago we have done inside data analysis, and overall most of our students drop between the end of first term, which means at the end of 4th module and the 8th of the module. So within the first year, most of our students, and this goes for Boise NEMPA as well, we lose most of the students, and I can't remember exactly what the percentage is, but it was way more than 50%. So we lose most of our students during that first academic year, if you will. And there are multiple reasons, whatever research or whatever articles you read, there's a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas, why they leave and what to do about them to stay. But I would like this meeting to be kind of discussion of what we can do, because I know both of our locations want to have about 150 some students, so it would be very beneficial. And now with the ITT out there, ITT students out there, we are poised to actually hit that. So, so let's use just this information and let's see if we can talk about and help each other about what we can do. So that's the reason why I class difficult, and I put there disengaged students, because I really think it's mostly that's what we want to be talking about. But yet I did prepare definitions, because I'm big on definitions, and I think sometimes when we talk about things, many of the terms that we are dealing with are really constructs. They may mean many, many things. So I pulled the most common definition that I was able to find of difficult students, so we can differentiate between difficult student and non-engaged or disengaged student, okay? And you can read it out there. And here are some examples of what difficult students will do. And when you read through them, probably every one of you can say, yep, had that, yep, had that, yep, had that, right, in my classroom. So here are some examples of what difficult students would do. More so, then there are more extreme examples. And sometimes we have these as well, right? To combat this one, a difficult student, is a little bit easier in my eyes, because we have one resource that we can use for a lot of these offenses, right? These or these, we can use our students' catalog. Information is in the catalog, and pretty much it's contained in students' conduct page. I know they keep changing pages, but I knew that page all the time. Remember?
It used to be 147, I think.
Okay.
I don't know what it is now.
So when we have situations like this happening in your classrooms, it's the easier way. How to combat it, it's easier because we have a catalog. We have information in the catalog. Anybody would like to share, either you have examples like this in your classroom, or you have these, and what you have done and how that worked?
Cell phones, I just want to shut them off. Put them to the side.
Okay. And they do what? Are they okay with it?
Well, unless they have a reason, like it's a single mom or something. But
Yeah.
even then, I tell them that's fine.
Yeah. If it's emergency, they can always take it out, take care of the situation, and come back, right? Okay. Any other examples?
On
Yes, sir.
the 2 and 3 there, it's just bringing it to their attention, let's let someone else share. And it's just being very polite and say, hey, and because you can see we're monopolizing, but then you've got the others, they lean forward, they want to. I said, wait a minute, and I just refocus the students, that other student that wants to share something. So it's just refocusing, being gentle.
Yeah.
It works well.
Yeah. Yeah. Good suggestion. Yes.
Same type of approach with the eating in class.
Yeah.
So, very politely just mention that their eating might be distracting themselves and others who generally don't like to have the food in the classroom. We give them a break throughout the class period that they can use, or that break time in between class periods too. So again, just redirecting their focus.
Yep.
I was, on the cell phones and some of the things, especially that goes along the lines, it's not up there, is like students are up on Facebook. And I like to use proximity. I'll come in and violate their personal space and just get closer and closer and closer. And when they're on Facebook, I walk around the backside and look at it and make a comment on that. So I really like to use proximity to affect.
Yes, Rebecca.
I think something I'm wanting to focus more on recently is reinforcing the positive.
Yes.
It's like if we can focus on those people who are, right there doing the thing, hey, thank you, this is great, I appreciate that. Then the others are like, I need to be like that.
Yeah, you're using peer pressure. You say, thank you very much for paying attention. And that, of course, will, say, oh, maybe I need to pay attention too, because if Paul is getting positive reinforcement, then I want the same thing. Yeah, good idea.
We talked about that. For the falling out at that time frame, we've all seen it. It's like, give them a positive statement about what they are doing well.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, oh, okay, here I go.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good idea. Yeah.
That might actually change their mind. That might be the staying point rather than the breaking point.
I think it's, you get them involved in the class, the purpose of the class, they're going to stick around. But if you just kind of let them sit off to the side, they're going to fall off to the side.
You can also, like when I go through their discussion posts, I'll put their name and one little brief thing that they said that stood out to me in their discussion post, and then we talk about it in the class. And I say, oh, Kimberly, I was really interested in what you said about this, blah, blah, blah. And it really generates a lot of discussion, especially over like ethical things and stuff like that.
No, that's very good.
Part of it is what we do as instructors as well too, and that's keeping them actively engaged. So, I get to do evaluations of the professors, and I came into Mike's class the other day, and they were reading ECGs, and they had their own ECGs, and they're down on it, and everybody was actively engaged with this. There were no cell phones, no Facebook. Everybody was excited about what they were doing. I went into Fulcanelli's class, and he had the students working. It was an Apps 101. They were, building PowerPoint and things, and I talked to him about it, and I said, is there a way that we could have the students present up on there? Could you link their computers via cable or something, and the students could present what they did and what they learned as they went through? And he said, yeah, come back in after break. And he used GoToMeeting. And he had the students log in, and then one by one, and you could see the class change, because then each of their presentations were up, and they'd never seen GoToMeeting. It's an Apps 101 class, and that's what it's supposed to do. But they were all really excited about seeing what other people were doing and sharing what they had learned. And they loved when he put their videos up, and they're seeing their faces, and they're like trying to document things,
Sticky.
But my point is it's what we do as educators to keep the entire class actively engaged, as opposed to, well, I'm working with you because you have an issue right now, and I'll get to you in a minute, and I know that can't always be done, but there was just two examples of what I saw that were methods that the professors were actively engaging in.
I smell alcohol on your breath, and I think you have used some drugs. And I know that we would not do that most likely, but because what can happen is she says, well, I am starting new medication and it makes me kind of loopy. I had that happen. And also, it's not alcohol, it's mouthwash. And I'm sure those of you who address situations like that or who worked with alcoholics, this is what they use common. I worked with alcoholics for a full year in acute situation. So I heard this many, many times. So what I say is that absolutely it should be addressed by the first staff member that notices something, especially if maybe that student may be danger to him or herself or to other students, maybe, I don't know, may fall down, or if it's threatening or whatever that may be. But, try to always address it only ways of behavior that you see. In a sense, Carla, I can see that you are not steady on your feet. Or, something like that. Don't say, I think you have been drinking. Right. Because that is accusing, and we really should not be doing that. But only address the behavior that you may be seeing. And right. if we need to remove that person, student and or employee, off of premises, what Mike did is perfect. Have them sit somewhere where somebody will watch them. Now, what if they don't listen? What if they start doing la la la? Like, no, I'm not going to pay attention. I'm not going to do anything.
We had that one time. Remember?
Yes. Yes.
I gal on hydro or whatever.
What do we do at that time when somebody starts to be really unruly?
Call the police.
Yep.
We called the
911.
security, we had a security guard
Yeah.
at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and we had him come up and escort her
Mhm.
downstairs and put her in to another person's car because she didn't want to
Yeah.
ride from anyone, but she didn't have anyone to pick her up.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now we don't have that, so we would call 911. I mean, there is, we call police. That's it. That is. Okay. Good. Does that kind of explains what you wanted to go about?
I just wanted to.
The one thing also what I
reinforce
would, thank you for bringing that up, Carla. One thing that I would like to also remind us, please make a note in Campus View, because that's where we still have opportunity to get better. We forget that. Of course, the incident report, like Mike said, that's great, that we need to have that, but also make a note in Campus View. And again, make it short and sweet. You can say, and again, just describe behavior that you have seen. Don't say, it was suspicion of being intoxicated or whatever. Just describe, maybe somebody was walking like that, or somebody was exhibiting some, violent behavior, whatever that may be. A quick note, and you can say incident report filled and put a date, and then we always file those. So if we need to go back for more information to the incident report, then we can always do that. Does that make sense? So these difficult situations are kind of easier to address, I think. Then we have this other group of students that are not necessarily perhaps difficult, but they could be not performing for other reasons. And through my research, I kind of came up with some of these words that I would like to just throw out there, because I think that this is what we may be talking about, because we talk about two big of groups, like underprepared students, that we believe that these are not prepared because of what happened in the past, or they just were not prepared, or underperforming. So underprepared are, those students that come to us that, they don't know how to write, they don't know how to do simple math, they don't have very basic skills to succeed in college. Underperforming is the student that already has some kind of background or level of education and may be successful, but it is still not successful. Okay? So the underperforming student doesn't have to necessarily be underprepared student. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Any comments about this? Now, when we're talking about skills, because I think as you read this probably is at least maybe 50% times issue that students may be prepared, they're not underprepared, but they don't have skills management, they don't have a time management skills, study skills, that kind of thing. So that's just a note that we can, think about as we talk about these students. So what could be causes not to be underprepared? And I'll have you read through it, but like we talked about many of these. Diversity, socioeconomic background, previous academic experience, test scores, geographical location, prior educational experience. Some of the things I found interesting was, possible societal trend that parents expect to see high marks on report cards, but not making studying a priority for their overscheduled kids. I didn't think about this before, this particular thing, and this could be one of our concerns or issues when we are dealing with high school students, that come, directly from high school, or maybe, a year or two after high school. We lose quite a few of them, don't we? We lose quite a few high school kids. So it's a possibility that's one of the reasons why they may be underprepared, because parents wanted to see high grades, and how parents can get involved in students' education in high school, right? So I thought it was interesting. The other thing is, we teach students in CSS 101, we teach them learning styles. Interestingly, and again, I didn't think about it, and it's common, we all know this, but I didn't think about it until I saw it written like this. The technology does change these learning styles. You're all going like, yep, so you have seen it. Can you think of examples? Anybody think of examples? E-books, yep. That's a great example.
The older folks don't. The older students do not like e-books.
Yep.
So all of my professors here, what's the one thing I've been telling you? Incorporate videos into your classes. My educational theory is that it's exactly this, is that our students right now, this group, have grown up with constant stimulation. And, in the past, we were conditioned on 15-minute cycles. 15 minutes paying attention, and the commercial came on and you'd leave. And then you'd come back and pay attention for 15 minutes. And education kind of looked that way for a while. And we still look at our time frame of how we break it down by hours and what we do. And that's carried over. But our students now, their attention spans are lower because they're getting their information very, very rapidly. Their phone, their tablets, their computers, they have everything instantaneously. I mean, you remember when the computers first came out, like a fax took 7 minutes to get a single page. And that was pretty cool. And you remember like when you're loading a web page, and you'd load a web page up or something, it'd take a few minutes and it'd come up and you're like, wow, this is really cool. Look at all this information I just
Those
got.
were good times.
But now we want it instantaneously, and our students are conditioned that they have, they've got fiber optic,
Yes.
coming at them so fast, and they want it this fast. And if they don't get it, then they disengage and they become bored. But that same individual will spend 8 hours playing Halo
Yep.
or,
Yeah.
doing something like that because they're constantly getting that information. So
Yep.
what we provide needs to kind of support that a little bit, and it can't be totally that. We still have to have this didactic approach to education. But those videos, to me, are great transitions and ways to stimulate the students into their kind of learning style. So I'm always pushing to incorporate videos, doing the cool things that the IT guys get to do. And like what you did when we had our big all-staff meeting that we did where you had the survey that you ran. This was something cool. It was getting everybody involved. They were looking forward to doing it. So, kudos to IT and medical. You got the cool stuff that can keep them going. The rest of us have to work harder. Sorry. I'm glad
How can I get excited about debits and credits? I mean, come on. No one in this room.
There are songs online. I've seen these songs. Yeah.
They're good.
But,
There are some
it's-
good things.
And I think that the
Yeah.
business side, really needs to look at that. I mean, it gets exciting when people see their own money doing something.
Mhm.
But I really like those videos as transitions, when they come off of break. Hey, here's something stimulating and exciting. You were on break and fooling around. Now it's time to come back and focus back into this. So give them that stimulation, and then before they know it, we feed them some information. and
But
have them
in
learn.
some respects, it's very subtle on our part in the sense that if you're using the computerized accounting practice, or if you're using Excel, and these guys are sucking it up because they're seeing it on hand, they're on their system, I've got it on the screen, so you do have that interaction going on, and it's like when you're working on some kind of a formula in Excel, or you're working on some kind of transaction in accounting, you start to see where the waterfall comes in, and you do get that action there, because that's really where it's at. You can't get a video, because that interaction has to be in QuickBooks, in Excel, in Access, in Word, in PowerPoint. They have to see it, they have to be doing it literally as a hands-on, because that reinforces what they've done. I don't touch keyboards, they touch keyboards. So that's where I'm focusing.
Yeah, Jen.
So
Thank you.
the last couple days, we were at, Fred and I went to a conference, so all the different presenters, and I think it was kind of interesting, because I was thinking, oh, how could I incorporate the way they were teaching? And there was a couple of them, they would put, like every so many slides, because they've used PowerPoint, they would put something not related to anything and just like stupid to give you a break, and then you go back and be focused. Like one guy just had, like he liked 80s movies, so he had an 80s trivia question, and stuff.
That's a great way to do
Because
that.
we talk all the time about how our attention spans are what, like 20 minutes or something, and so they just threw, or even some of them just had a short little clip video. There was a guy that came and presented too, and he did that.
That's how I make coding fun.
Is they just have, and it
Mhm.
not
Yeah, I
related, I
found
mean, the
lots of
video
videos,
doesn't necessarily have to be
Pokemon.
with what
Pokemon
you're
Go.
teaching, but
I
just
see
have a
10
break,
codes.
and then they can come back and read.
No, that's a great idea, and it's actually very simple, you know, it's very simple to throw every 10 or so slides. Glenn?
So I studied interface 2 weeks ago. You were talking about technology. Believe me, sometimes technology can be very mundane and very dry because it's just that way. And this presenter was down there and he was working for i5 Networks, and it was absolutely hilarious. Every slide had a cat video on it from YouTube. And it was, you know, he was bringing up firewalls and talking firewalls and so forth, and all of a sudden you see there was like probably 20 people who would go in there, and the place, all of a sudden there was 300. Because they were just waiting for this next video to come up, you know, this next screen, because they were so engaged with what, and they could care less about the firewalls. They wanted to see what the next cat video was, you know, and it says, do you feel like your technicians, you know, do like this on the firewalls, and you see a couple cats doing this kind of thing? And it was hilarious. It was absolutely, it had everybody engaged, you know, because you would, and I mean, it creates the humor, and it lightens up the mood quite a bit, where it's not so dry and mundane, and that's the entertainment of that.
Yes.
I think Glenn hit on a great point of humor,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
I think that's an incredible teaching tool. Humor and pain. I don't think we can use pain, so.
Yeah, you know, the thing is that, and that's why I brought up that, you know, in this difficult situation and environment that is happening around us, I realized that I forgot to smile. You know, there were days that I would go without smiling, you know. And, you know, just think about it, you know, yes, we are busy, we have everything going on, plus all these political issues that are happening. But if we forget to smile, if we forget to entertain students and ourselves also, it makes a very long day and it's really not a whole lot of fun. So let's try to have fun as much as we can. The same goes for students. But I like these ideas. I love the ideas, you know, put some quick slides of something that is maybe particular to you. You know, Glenn can be putting something about cables and, I don't know, Stephanie can be putting some x-rays over there, you know, just fun stuff. So, I mean, I think, you know, kind of create your own brand that way. I think that would be fun.
Well, my students had an hour to kill yesterday, and if you guys know Kevin Toothman, they were x-raying everything they could get their hands.
We heard you guys yesterday. We were like, what is going on?
How come you weren't invited?
You know, and last week he comes out and he goes, I'm so sorry, but nothing's coming out of the processor. I go, well, how many things are in there? 4. Okay. So we had to tear the whole processor down.
They got down.
They were all jammed in the dryer. Yeah.
So a little fun doesn't hurt, right?
They know how to take the processor apart.
There you go.
See, they learn in the process, right?
Teachable moment.
Teachable
Yeah.
moments.
Yes.
Exactly. So what could be causes to underperform for students? So we already talked about the previous ones. You know, some causes to be underprepared. These are causes how students most of the time will come to us, okay? What could be causes for underperformance? So when some of these things, again, I'm sure you have seen in your classrooms, attitude issues, behavior shaped by previous experiences, whether it was here or schools somewhere else, and or maybe family. You know, self-efficacy, self-expectation, self-confidence. Would you agree that that's one of the biggest issues that we see with our students?
And the bottom one.
And the bottom one, doing what was done in the past. Can you explain that, Mike, a little bit?
I just had a student last night come up to me, she's in A&P, and she's like, I used to get nothing but straight A's in high school, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, this is college. And I said, you're taking a course that requires a lot of memorization, a lot of studying.
Yeah.
And I said, did you have to do that in high school? She goes, no, I really never had to study.
We've seen a trend as well too with our students coming to us from alternative high schools. And the operant conditioning there is if you showed up, you passed.
Yeah,
You
no
know,
homework.
just showing up was good enough in
Yeah.
there, no homework. And we few months ago, had to get rid of one of our students for this reason. Just wasn't getting the grades, and just, we completely ran out. There's nothing left that we could do to prevent SAP. There was no other alternatives, and we had to remove this student. And Dave Massengale had worked with this student, and the student had told him, well, you know, in high school I just showed up, and you know, I would get, you know, a C or a B or whatever. And he kept explaining, you have to do the work, you have to do those things. So this mod right now, I have 3 students that came from an alternate high school. And I talked to all 3 of them yesterday about false start in there. 0 missed classes. They have come to every single class in the CSS 101. But their work, every assignment is late. And there's a few missing ones. And so brought them in, and Dave and I, you know, had a come to Jesus meeting with them and explained to them. Now, the one of them had gotten some work in, done some other things, and her grade was fine. But I had to explain to her, you were on the borderline of me taking your scholarship. So pull out your checkbook, write me a check for $15,000, because that's what you're going to owe me. And they're like, you know,
Yep.
I said, that $15,000, if you're going to take classes with us, you're going to have to pay for them, and you're going to have to pay interest on it, and that's going to cost you about $27,000. And I said, if you were to hold that, that's a stack of $100 bills about that thick in there. Do you understand what we're talking about? All 3 of them stayed 2 hours after class, and they're coming in today to work as well.
Very good, very good.
But hopefully, they're going to come through and do that. But I don't know if the Boise campus gets as many students from alternative schools or whatever, but we've got a few. But you're talking about the conditioning, what they've been able to get away with in the past. And this was what the standard was. I just show up.
Acceptable behavior.
They think that because they showed up every class and didn't miss one, we're doing great.
What's somewhat our expectation of the student. You know, we know where they come from, and so we don't need to expect that much from you because, you know, I know your background and I know, you know, and I think we need to set the bar high so that, you know, even if they fall short, like Rebecca said, you can still go on positive things that they have done.
Yep.
But I don't think we need to lower our expectations of them to meet that.
Absolutely. Good point. Thank you. Any other ideas that we could share, that we could steal from one another? Remember, in this particular case, plagiarizing and stealing is a good thing.
The
Brian.
time management thing, kind of following up on what Paul said, had a discussion with a student and said, okay, you're working and you're doing okay, you're making $10 an hour, but you're spending too much time working. How long is it going to take you to make the $15,000 that you're about to lose? Ooh, that's what made it real.
That's a good point. Didn't think about that one. I like it. Soon time. Holy smokes. Yes,
I
Carla.
think like you said, a lot of our students, they lack those study skills or the time management skills, but we all know that they're taught that in CSS 101. So as the instructors get them in their 2nd mod, 3rd mod, 19th mod, you know, we can, and we notice that they suffer in these areas, we can remind them, you know, hey, remember the strategies that you learned in CSS 101? You know, maybe we need to review those. And the strategies that you are working on right now aren't a good fit for you. Let's try to find one that works. And that can be not just time management, but study skills, problem solving, etc. But maybe remind them, look, we've provided you some tools. You're just not opening your toolbox.
Yeah.
I had that discussion with somebody just night before last, and he said, he was talking about time management. He said, well, think back on what you learned in CSS 101. He says, I had the same problems there.
Okay then. So how did you resolve that?
I said, well, okay, here's some things to start in with. And one of the things that I encouraged him to do is instead of making a list of 10 things, make his list of 10 and then throw 7 of them away.
Yes.
And only focus on those top 3 things. And your homework dang well better be number 1.
Okay, good point, good point. Okay, any other ideas that could help us? Hopefully you at least were able to get some ideas sometimes what we can do. So all of this, what we do is we need to retain our students. You know, we want to retain our students. Yes, we want to retain them for, you know, accreditation, but you know, we have to be looking, I feel. We need to be looking, and I know we are looking, that this is a student, this is a human being in front of us, this is an individual that I'm working with, not the number. We have, you know, barely 100 students in both of our locations, so it's very easy to know them all and work with them closely. So we definitely want to do anything we can within reason, within the law and within the rules and everything, that we will retain these students. One thing that is, if you remember, we talked about this a couple times. We talked about this when we talked about millennials. We talked about when we talked about demographics of poverty. Do you remember that there was the same comment made, significant person? There has to be a significant person for every student among us, and that research suggests that that will help that student to complete and retain the student. You know, I remember specifically when we were talking about, I think it was millennials, that no significant learning will happen if there is no significant relationship between student and faculty or staff. Relationships are crucial for majority of our student population, and maybe not just millennials, but I would venture to say probably for the most of them, because some of them may not have support at home whatsoever, and we are the only relationship that they will have. Would you agree?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Can anybody would like to share example that a student succeeded because of maybe a relationship with you? It's okay to pat on the back.
I've got one right now that, you know, her background was challenging, and we're going through spreadsheets, not a good subject. But this young woman is just up, and she's got me by, I want to know more, I want to know how to do it, you know. And so she really is aggressive, and it's not just saying, let's talk about this and let it go. She comes back to it. She circles around and says, I want to talk about it again. I want to know how to do it. How'd you do that? What was the steps? What are the procedures? And then we leave that, and then she comes right back to something else and relational and starts looking at the process. So it's just seeing someone grow like that. It's just
Seriously, so relationships are crucial to our
Yes.
students, right? Seems like we agree on that. Any other comments or suggestions or experience?
Well, I had a student several years ago that still keeps in touch with me. We talk on Facebook all the time. And she needed some psychotropic medication. She couldn't afford it. So my husband had told me about this website where you could get free meds. And I mean, she became a different person. Met this wonderful fireman guy. Has been happily married now for years. And every single picture of her on Facebook just gives me goosebumps because she's so happy. And she was so unhappy. And she was not going to make it through. And I mean, it was her that did it because she followed through and got help, you know.
Yeah, but you provided information, right?
But it's awesome to see how happy, and I mean, that's happened, Amanda, you know.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of students like that.
Yeah. I had a student, Stephanie mentioned, Amanda, when I was medical instructor still. This girl, she finished all of her courses. The only thing she didn't finish was her externship. And at that time, we allowed students participate in the commencement if they were just before the externship, if they had only externship to finish. So we allowed her to participate in the commencement, and 2 years later, and no Amanda finishing her degree. So I stayed on her for 2 years, and you know what, 2 years later, she came back, she completed externship, and she really got her degree. And today, she is a supervisor in a facility, medical facility, right?
All Seasons now.
All Seasons, yeah. And she's hiring.
Actually, she just emailed me.
She did?
She's going to interview that other student on Tuesday.
So, I mean, I I was privileged that I was able to work with her that way, that she allowed me to, somehow we were able to find that relationship and that connection, but I think that's the only way how we can change these lives, and we do it every day. All of you, I'm sure you can think of at least one example that you had a situation like that, and that's what's better than sex. Moving on. So, supporting students through academic coaching. So this particular article that it's listed at the end, addresses not necessarily advising, but coaching. And you can call it however you want. I think coaching is a very fancy, nice word. I like it. But there are some ideas here that perhaps we could entertain, or you could entertain when you work with students. Maybe not all of them, but maybe some of them. Individual appointments. Identify the root issue. Is it underprepared or underperforming student? Identify what the issue is. We would probably treat differently underprepared or disengaged or underperforming student. And I know John, probably, and Paul, you were talking about or are discussing whether we should have some remedial courses somehow set up. So that is something that maybe we need to be discussing, because if we're getting more underprepared students, maybe we need to think about something like that. We do something in small, but I don't know, maybe we need to go back to some remedial courses. I don't know, whatever you guys decide. But that's one way how to perhaps help these students, and then a lot of the things that are listed in there. I think that one of the biggest points is this accountability checkpoints. When you are meeting with students, what have you done in the past? Have you completed your course? And this is the time when we address, even certifications. Have you been successful? Yes, great. Let's move to certification, for example. Okay. So always address it and listen for things that they don't tell you. That happens, not only what they tell you, sometimes we have to act upon it, but also what they don't tell you. I had a very interesting conversation yesterday with a student that we were considering whether, we couldn't decide whether to false start her or not, Jennifer, right? And after talking to her, it was not necessarily what she said, but how she said it and what she had done. I thought, perhaps, Carla agreed and John agreed, and I think Stephanie did too, that probably this is not the best environment for her, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, and that's part of it. When you think about it, again, some of your students may never get any attaboy at home. We lost a student from IT department just this week because he doesn't have a support at home from his wife. And he actually left partially because of that, because she's telling me I need to work and I can't be going to school, I'm spending money instead of making money. I mean, how often have we all heard that? So I'm sure he never heard attaboy from his wife.
We had a student whose mother came and physically pulled her out of class last week.
And what did she say? What was the reason?
She didn't want her in school, wanted her working back. This is a waste of time.
How do you combat that? What do you do about that?
That's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Just more follow-up on meetings, and I will send this all of you so you can look through it and see if there is anything that may sound interesting to you to use. Some examples of what we can refer or what we can recommend to students, and we do most of these. We don't do counseling, if you will, here on premises, but we always have resources like in 211 manual that we can send them outside counseling. But there are some ways how we can help students in some shape or form. These are my references, so I will send this to you so you have all the information further on. But any final thoughts anybody would like to share? So remember, the topic was how we can motivate not necessarily difficult students, but those that are not engaged or disengaged. Maybe some of them were engaged before and something now happened and now they're suddenly disengaged. Okay, they are not involved in the classroom discussions, they don't submit homework. So we have talked about some things that you already are doing. You shared some of the things that you already are doing in order to help these students. Because ultimately, we want them to complete their degree and leave here with degree so they can go work in field instead of having a loan on their backs and no degree and no certification. communications, right? So any final thoughts anybody would like to share regarding the topic? Or maybe just share, maybe just share what you're going to do the first thing on Monday when you get back to work.
I just always try to focus more on in-class stuff, to be quite honest.
Okay.
Making things more tactile like that. The color tube assignment. They make their own tubes now. They color them, they put the label, they put the additive on it. Just
You mean like for the,
for order of drop. And
Okay,
for things
okay,
ready
yeah.
for phlebotomy. I mean, that's just something new recently, but I've just found with the demographics I have over there, if I can make them do it in class, make it somehow interactive. And you can't with everything, I realize that, but.
right.
And the
Seems to
checkpoints,
work.
do you still use checkpoints?
I did with just the 103 that one time, and it's 50/50.
I just wondered, because I know online uses
Mhm.
checkpoints. I wonder if that helped with confusion.
If they, maybe if they are meaningful, if they are related, it's just one way how to do it too. Any other thoughts? The student that we talked about yesterday, Jennifer, so she was the one who likes to eat in the classroom and drink a lot, and that disrupts other students, right, in the classroom. And so I was asking her, so I said, why are you, because sometimes we have to be careful, sometimes students may have maybe hypoglycemic, so we have to kind of be aware of those things. But if that is all out and if maybe she's just drinking, so I said, why do you have a need to keep drinking during the class and eating constantly? I said, I understand that you need to eat, but can you wait before or after during the break? We have break usually within an hour. And she said, well, I just need to do something with my hands, which I thought very interesting. And I go, so could you be taking notes? And she thought, maybe I could. Sometimes even little comment like that, because and clearly she's a tactile learner. I mean, it was very clear to me from what she was doing, and Carla, she was your student, so you confirmed that as well. So clearly, if she needs to do something with her hand while she's learning, so definitely that is something that she's definitely not auditory. She didn't learn anything from listening, but if she sees and she can do something, she goes, and I go, so have you done any of that? She goes, so, and I said, do you think it would have helped you if you would have been writing things down? She goes, yeah. So sometimes even little things like that may be completely irrelevant, perhaps may seem irrelevant to you, like how come she cannot think about that? Think about it, if somebody is really first generation student, they probably don't know these things. So sometimes even little comments like that can help them to redirect and, get the material.
Well, I get an email, it's called Faculty Focus. I don't know if anybody else gets that, but it's suggestions for stuff to do in class. One came through this week that said, assign a note taker for the class. So that person takes the notes if you have stuff that you need notes taken from, which is challenging for doing all skills, but then they have to post that and everybody has access to that in the class. So it goes in the course shell and everybody can see that. So then they have to bring up their note-taking skills because everybody's going to look at it.
And perhaps, always assign different students. That's an
Absolutely.
interesting idea.
Peer pressure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like today it's you,
Yeah.
next time it's you.
Yeah.
It's like,
Where did you get that email from? What organization?
it's called Faculty Focus. I did.
Can you share it can you forward it to a faculty, Rebecca? Would it be possible?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
That particular one,
Or,
and then everybody can.
yeah, then you can just maybe sign up or something, I don't know.
Facultyfocus.com.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, good suggestion. Yeah. I believe in note-taking, I'm old-fashioned, I'm old. And I truly believe that,
Because I can't do
I believe that when you do this, it really connects to your brain much more if you just auditory. There's not very many auditory listeners. There are some, but not very many. So.
I have to do it when I get home because the system here doesn't allow me to email my own personal stuff.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's great.
It's in my personal email.
Okay, thank you. Any other thought, any concluding ideas?
Make it fun.
Make it fun?
Be excited.
Be excited, I know.
Excited.
Remember to smile, you know, that is,
Am I annoying?
No.
He's like, wait.
But you know, I think that's one of the issues that we have with the online classes, is that there's not enough interaction. I mean, there's this, but then there's no receiving of information.
or
So
reciprocation.
that's, a lot of students are struggling in
Mhm.
online classes.
Yeah.
And even though they hear it again and again and again, it's still not clicking on.
Yeah, it is totally different, you know, that's how technology yet again changed how learners learn, right? That is yet another dimension to how technology changed entire education. Totally different topic. You can present that one next time. Sweet. So unless you have any other thoughts, thank you so much for letting me to talk to you about this. I will forward this information to you, including the ITT stuff. And if you think of anything that would help us regarding ITT, students, let me know. I'll work on some press releases and see what I can get together today. Carla, if you don't mind talking to Lulinda about the open house, and Paul in Nampa, if you don't mind doing that as well, take care of that. So we are ready for students when and if they come in. I'm sure they will be coming because we all get that. And let's see if we can remain positive, however difficult it is, you know, because if we're not, it's not going to help us anyways. Okay? Thank you so much.